and I'm excited to hand it over now to Elizabeth and Erin, who are going to give us a little bit of training in how to make these actions this week have a visual and a moral impact. Thanks, everybody.
Great. Thank you, Vicki. So question now that we have the political background is what we're going to do about it. And we've lined up two organizing powerhouses. And the first one is Elizabeth Lienesch. She's the organizing director for Take Action Minnesota, which is a statewide progressive and racial justice organization. Elizabeth?
Hey, everybody. So this is Elizabeth. I'm the organizing director at Take Action Minnesota. We're a state-based organization. We do organizing and electoral work to change who decides and who benefits in our state. So for the next couple minutes, I'm going to lay out 3 grounding principles that we at Take Action think about as we do creative direct actions, and show a few examples and talk about a few examples of actions that we've done over the years. So I hope it's helpful as you think about the next couple of weeks of work ahead of us on healthcare and all the other things that we're resisting at this moment. So the first principle is that all direct actions are, first and foremost, organizing opportunities. We got to take this as an opportunity to build the movement. And so it matters that we think about impacting members of Congress and the people that we want to move, but it matters even more that we think of creative direct actions as a chance to grow and deepen the groups that we're trying to build. So with that in mind, as we plan these, we want to think seriously about a few things. Before the action, we want to think about who are you bringing with you? Who's helping to shape the action? Who's planning? Who are you planning with? Who's your team around you shaping strategy? During the action, thinking about what risks are the people that you're working with need to take during an action to become a stronger leader, to increase their commitment to be even stronger. And then after the action, thinking about making sure you plan a debrief. What can you do better? What did you learn? What did you learn about yourself? And what did you learn about the action? The second principle I want to offer is the idea, I call this small numbers, big visual, big numbers, small visual. So the idea here is if you have a march of thousands of people, the people themselves become a visual. It's always good to have some kind of visual elements in large direct actions, but at the end of the day, the number of people is the overarching thing that's going to get remembered and noticed. But luckily, you can have a really powerful direct action with small turnout. It just requires a higher level of creativity with visuals that tell the story. So some examples of that, I've got pictures for those of you who are watching, and I'll describe it a little bit. These are actions that we at Take Action have done that had less than 50 people, but that still made a splash and had an impact because we thought about the visual message we were sending. So the first one is last year the state capitol in Minnesota was under construction and was wrapped in plastic around scaffolding. So what it became was basically a giant movie screen. So what we did was we rented a big projector and projected our messages about restoring the right to vote to people on probation and parole on the side of the Capitol. And because it was so visually interesting and kind of unique, the local news picked it up. The second is a set of folks visited the Minnesota State Capitol a couple years ago to demand an end to tax havens in the Caribbean for big corporations. And this is, just a dozen people, 10 people or so, but a handful of people in Hawaiian shirts and leis and a couple of inflatable palm trees at the Capitol in St. Paul, Minnesota in the middle of January definitely gets you noticed by folks in suits. The third thing that we did, again, these are just handfuls of folks. We dropped a banner from a 7-story atrium at the health insurance company Cigna. This was during the fight for the first fight for the Affordable Care Act. And on this banner, again, 7 stories from the top of this huge atrium, it's a list of all the pre-existing conditions that Cigna wanted to be allowed to deny people for. So asthma, acne, pregnancy, you name it. We listed them all and dropped this banner. Doesn't take very many people to drop a banner, but a 7-story banner certainly makes a visual impact. So again, these were all actions that didn't require huge numbers, but that really made a splash. Then the third principle that I want to name is really relevant to this moment. And it's that in this moment, we got to think seriously about how we do direct actions that mix creativity with moral clarity. So we heard very powerfully from Reverend Barber the need to have a moral movement, and I think we can do that in our actions. What we're seeing from the Trump administration, as you all know, is this campaign of disinformation. It's a lowering of standards. And I think we cannot meet them. We will lose if we try to meet them on the low road. We got to make this a moment where we lead with moral clarity, with personal stories, with an openness about what's at stake in our lives, and a demand to be taken seriously because we have deeply valid concerns. So a couple ways that we've done that at Take Action. The first, you can see some of these pictures on the slide. During the fight for the Affordable Care Act, we took dozens and dozens of pictures of our leaders, our staff, our members, just holding up their personal stories about the times that they lacked health insurance or the ways that the Affordable Care Act was going to make their lives better. These stories were personal, they were honest, there were folks just looking into the camera and talking about themselves honestly. We shared these digitally, we shared them with the press, we shared them with members of Congress to emphasize that the choice ahead of us would actually make a huge difference in real people's lives. Another example of a time we did this was we spent a day in a dozen locations across the state of Minnesota reading a list of 14,000 names. The names we read were the names of 14,000 people who would have lost health care coverage under a proposed bill. So we gathered in small groups around the state in public places, libraries, city halls, parks, and we simply read those names aloud over the course of 12 hours. It was simple, it was direct, it was focused on people, and it was about a moral imperative to care for our neighbors. So we should be creative, we should have fun, we should bring people along, and we should also remember that right now, some of the primary ground that we have is our emotional truth and clarity of where we stand. And we should combine that with our creativity and energy. So I hope you all have a ton of fun next week, making a lot of noise out there. I can't wait to see pictures and hear about it. I'm going to hand it off to Erin, who's going to talk about an action in D.C. around the health care bill.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Hello, everyone. My name is Erin Kramer, and I am the Executive Director of One Pennsylvania. Like Take Action Minnesota, One Pennsylvania is a statewide economic justice organization. Our members center direct action as a tactic to build power and to win a seat at the table for regular folks who are too often left out of the decision-making process. There are two kinds of issues that we work on. We put them in buckets of either expensive stuff that we need to fight to improve or valuable stuff that we need to fight to protect. Expensive stuff meaning childcare, housing costs, the cost of low wages, things that are valuable like clean water and public education. Frankly, healthcare is both. It is both often prohibitively expensive and essential to our lives, but in this moment in our country, it's also so valuable and we need to protect it. At One Pennsylvania, we like to say that the difference between us and the opposition is our belief that we belong to each other. And we live that value this week by standing up together and saying, not today. You will not be taking our sister and brother's health care away. Our members fought hard to win the ACA and to win the Medicaid expansion in Pennsylvania. For us, it was a huge step in the right direction, and we are proud to have been part of that fight. We talked to small business owners who were being priced out of the healthcare market before the reform. We talked to mothers who'd lost coverage because of their pre-existing conditions. And we talked to young people who were terrified of turning 27 because they didn't understand how to access affordable health care. So that's why we're going to show up on Thursday. It was so great to hear from Elizabeth about those framing questions for building direct actions. I'm going to be taking some of those back to our organization and our members, and I hope you will too. My job tonight on the call is to give you all a little preview of how we're going to take action this Thursday in D.C. and how you might do that back at home. As we heard from Victoria, this Thursday is the anniversary of Obama signing the ACA. And frankly, because of that, it's the day that Paul Ryan is aiming to vote for repeal of the ACA in the House. Not because they've carefully considered it, not because they are rushing to make a point on a day which some of us count as a really important victory. So we are showing up too. Thursday will be a major national day of action through the country where we fight back against the cuts to the ACA. It's the moment for us to throw down and resist. As we heard from Victoria, we have to make this vote toxic. We have to make it toxic for senators and for representatives who go home. So just a little quick preview. If you're looking at the slide, there's the art that some of our Pittsburgh artists have created for the action. And we will be starting with a powerful rally at Freedom Plaza in D.C. at 1 p.m., where Congressman Keith Ellison and others will speak to us, and then we will all march together. First, we will march to Trump's new hotel in D.C., and then make our way to the White House, very nearby, where myself, other leaders, our members, and people who are directly threatened by this attempt to repeal the Affordable Care Act and other attempts to take big chunks of the social safety net away to confront the Trump administration's agenda. We are prepared, as Reverend Barber challenged us, to sit down in order to stand up against those cuts. If you're not able to make it to D.C., that's okay. And in fact, your ability to create an action or turn out to an action near you will make Thursday an even bigger day of resistance. So if there's not an action organized near you, you can organize one. And I'm going to walk through that in a minute. But I think now we come to our third poll question, which is this. Will you join an action this Thursday to protest Trump Care and demand the House and Senate reject it? You can press 1 for yes and press 2 for no. So again, press 1 if you're going to join an action this Thursday to protest Trump Care and demand the House and Senate reject it. 1 for yes, 2 for no. If you're watching the presentation online, you see this slide that says, "We fight back." There's actually a link there where you can find an action near you. I'm going to read that now. It's bit.ly/M23actions. When you click through there, you'll see an action that's organized near you. If there isn't an action yet organized in your area, you can host one. And our commitment is that if you sign up to host an action, an organizer from the Center of Popular Democracy will contact you and send you what you need to be successful. But if you're anywhere near D.C., come and join us in D.C. National allies will be holding down that major action that I talked about earlier. We are bringing buses from Philadelphia. If there's anyone on the line from Philadelphia who needs a ride to D.C., find our Facebook page. You can register for a free bus ride. Last thing I just want to say is that we do not do this lightly. It's not easy to bring thousands of people together in our nation's capital. Some of you will know that it's not easy to put dozens of people together in the freezing cold to resist, but we do that because we believe very, very deeply that the only thing that will get us through this, the only thing that actually makes this country work, is when all of us stand together, hold each other's hands, and take the streets together. We have to take care of each other. We have to belong to each other in order to build the world that our children deserve together.